not happy. They're like most people who've been at a job for long term. There's things about it they like, but there's a lot of things about it they what? They'd hate. And they're no different. And this is where you really need to start asking yourself hard questions that only you can answer honestly. Is the path you're on now, if you stay on this path only, going to be any different than your old job other than just making more money? See, because going from 50 to 250 or 500 a year will change your lifestyle some, but it won't make you free because you're going to spend the money, because that's what we do until we train ourselves to do otherwise. So from my point of view, the people I know in the business who long-term are very, very happy, they're very, very happy because they have the freedom. They have the what? To choose what they want to do. Do I know some that have been doing it a long time who still do predominantly predominantly quick cash transactions? Yes, because it's what they really love to do. But they also don't have to go do the deals this month to make enough money to pay the 9 employees to keep the mortgages afloat. Does that make sense? So at some point, if you want your business to mature, at some point you need to go, hey, I got to take some of these dollar bills that are coming in, some of these hundreds, and some of these I need to take out of the recycle game, and I need to put them into my own game. At some point, my business needs to mature where I can steal money from me so that I will end up with money in the long run. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you're no different than a commission salesperson. And that's the trap I'd like to help you guys out of. That's what we do. That's what I did. See, because when I came over this business, I went from high-paying commissions into, for a very short period of time, high-paying commissions. And I didn't get into real estate for high-paying commissions. I wanted to build wealth and have assets. But until I had figured out the cash flow technique, I couldn't figure out how to do it. Does that make sense? Because I knew I didn't want to get right back into working hard forever. I didn't mind working long hours. I'd worked long hours all of my life. I just didn't want to have to be like I am today at 45, still working long hours, because my system required me to be the system and required me to generate new commissions. And I guess coming from a commission background, that's what I look at quick cash houses are. I don't look at it as cash. I don't look at it as we made a bunch of money. I look at it as I got a commission, because I'm a realist. I know the problem with commissions is what happens to them? We spend them. A couple of very, very exciting things that are out there. How many of you guys run into houses to where the deal's good but not great and probably not worth the effort to fight to get the short sale, but there's a good loan in place? FHA and VA loans. How many of you run into FHA or VA loans? Okay. A large portion of what we do is pre-foreclosure. And what we do often is we don't come in and put a down payment. And let's be honest, I don't buy any houses like I put up on the board here. Okay? I don't buy houses like that. I buy them much better than that. But I run into a lot of houses that I can take control of what's called subject to. Who's heard of the word subject to? Okay. And subject to basically means I'm going to take over an existing what? Loan, subject to the existing financing. If I'm doing this on an FHA or conventional loan, I am absolutely and positively 100% for sure in violation of the due on sale clause, which was created under the St. Gar and Germain Act of 1983 and was refortified in 2003. There is no way around the due on sale clause. Anybody who ever told you, anybody ever been told there's techniques or ways around the due on sale clause? Okay, let me just correct this for you. Anybody who told you there is a way around the due on sale clause, either one of two things. Number one, probably almost for sure, was lying to you on purpose to sell you information. Number two, they're extremely naive. The St. Gar and Germain Act is crystal, let me be explicit on this, it is crystal clear. Any loan that I take over with any transfer of ownership or assignment, with any option for a term of 3 years or more, written, verbal, hidden in the drawer of somebody's desk, put into some silly old land trust, which if you're on the West Coast, you shouldn't even consider using for this sort of transaction under any circumstances, is a violation of the due on sale clause. There is no special trust. First of all, there's only two types of trust that exist in the free world, grantor and non-grantor. That's it. They have all kinds of pretty names for them, but there is only two frickin' types of trusts. with lots of special names so they can sell you stuff around them. There is no legal way around the due on sale clause. Do banks call if they find out? Sometimes. Again, anybody who tells you that that banks do not call loans that are performing has not done very many of these deals. I've done hundreds and hundreds of these transactions where I'm in violation of subject to 2, and we have had loans called that were performing, and we've had loans called before. We had one where at the time the current interest rate was 6 3/4, and the interest rate on the loan was 7.5, and they called it so we could get a lower rate. These are not business decisions. You must understand this due on sale issue. If it is discovered, there is a reasonable probability that your loan will be called. It is a reasonable probability. Percentage-wise, my office, if it gets caught, we're only about a 10%. We have lots of experience, and the person they'd be talking to is Gina Redmond. Gina's been with me for 11 years and has 25 years experience in the business. Would you say she's going to be probably pretty good at fielding the call? Hello? Yeah, especially since we've had a few calls, so we figured out all the ways not to get them what? Called. For newer people, I've found, if you're not that experienced in this business, the reality is 20-25% of the time, if they find out, they're going to call the loan. Because the person calling the loan isn't making a business decision. It's a clerk. And if she had a bad day, you're about to have one too. So the due on sale clause, there is no way around it. It is there. It will not go away. Here's what we do know, though. Banks don't actively look. I tell people to ask themselves 3 questions before you do a due on sale. 3 questions. First question. If you're going to wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, losing sleep, laying in bed in a sweat, worried about your due on sale violations, don't do it. Life is far too long. Number 2, if you or your investors can't make the call, don't do it. And number 3, the third question is, well, if I'm not going to lose sleep over it and I can make the call, then it's just a matter of whether or not I want to do it. My decision was do it. Now, we've got a lot of forms that we do with it. We actually have 21 different documents when we buy due on sale. People go, 21 different documents. Well, I talked to this one guy, he only needs 6. Well, I'm sure he only needed 6 because he'd probably only done it about 6 times. When you've done it hundreds of times, you start to figure out everything that can and will go what? Wrong. And so because of that, we actually have 21 forms. One of the forms we actually have is really, really cool. It's called a performance mortgage. Anybody ever heard the performance mortgage? Yeah, well, burly people are raising their hands. Okay. The performance mortgage, it's really cool. See, because what we found out is when the loans got called, it wasn't because the bank looked. It's because somebody told the what? The banker. Does that make sense? Now, I know I didn't tell the banker, but the banker found out. So guess who told them? The person I bought the house from. See, because in many cases when we come in and I'm buying the house is 2, 3, 4, 5 months back in payments. I'm going to be having to make up the back payments. I usually have to give them some moving money, depending where we're at in the country. Moving money is $1,000, $2,000. I know there's a very popular audio program where the lady goes on and on and on about how she buys all these houses subject to, and the people give her $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. You believe it? Do you believe it? Have I had some people pay me to take their houses? Yes. Is that normal? Heck no. The reason they're willing to give the house to me is because they can't make the what? Payment. And they can't make the payment because they don't have any money. And so if they don't have money to make the payments, where in the heck are they going to get money to pay me to take the house? Okay, again, I live in the real world. In the real world, usually they're a couple months behind. I got to make up some back payments and I've got to do it. We've got all the paperwork that tells you how to do it. I came up with new paperwork called a performance mortgage. And what the performance mortgage says, so I'm buying Joel's house. Joel's got to sign a performance mortgage. It does many things. First thing, and it ends many of the problems with the subject to clause. First thing it does is we record a mortgage. We record a what? Against the house. It is a second mortgage. And here's how it works. Joel If ever you need to sign any new papers or any forms or paperwork, if something comes up down the road that I haven't thought of today, you agree that you'll sign those papers. Is that fair? And you also agree never to knowingly or unknowingly, willing or unwillingly, contact the lender and divulge the transaction. And if you do, and the loan is called, you owe me $50,000. You know what? They all signed it. And how my reps explain it, and how I would explain it when I was doing it, is I never tell people I'm the owner of the house. I tell them I'm property manager. And how I would explain it was like, I'd tell the story I just told you, but go, and it was the owner's wife. So after that, let me tell you, and this is how I would tell Joel, Joel, you need to understand. We're supposed to spend $20,000 to force you into full liquidation bankruptcy if we can't collect the 50 grand. So if you ever have any thoughts that you think you're going to want to try and screw the company over that's getting you out of the house right now, you need to tell me right now so we just rip up this paperwork and don't do it. And if he objects, then we ask him a very logical question. Well, Joel, the only reason we could think of where you'd object to doing a performance mortgage is because you plan on screwing us. In which case, we're not going to buy the house. So there's lots of details you need to know about the business. I know the details. This is what we do. We've come up with all the things that we know can go what? Wrong, and fix them before so you don't have to. See, because I've learned the hard way that fundamentally as human beings, we only learn by failure. We don't learn much from our successes. Successes, we have a tendency to party. Failures, we ponder and learn. It's how we all learned. It's how each and every one of you learned how to crawl. It's how you learned how to walk. It's how you learned how to talk, by failing. And we never would have thought of just going, well, I just can't get this walking thing down, so I'm not gonna. I mean, our parents would never just go, hey, look, you've been falling down too much. No more walking for you, buddy. You're crawling till you're 90. No more walking. So the thing is, we learn by failure. But what I discovered is that all the failures didn't have to be mine. That I could go out and find people who had done things like I wanted, or things that were similar. I never found anybody who had done what I ended up doing and what I wanted to do and what my vision was. But I could find lots of people. I could find lots of Claudes and Ryans and Angies who were very successful, and I could learn from them. And I found it was a lot cheaper and a lot less painful to write a small check to gain their experience based on their failures than it was to have to repeat every single failure in the business myself personally. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Now, my students have done incredibly better than I did in the early years. And the reason is, obviously, they had a boot camp to go to. They have audio programs to listen to. Because all the things that people go through in the first couple of years of the business took me about 10 years to figure out. Because I didn't have anybody to show me how to do it. So, unfortunately for me, much of my pain was personal experience in the street rather than being able just to buy somebody else's audio program. The other type of loan that's out there, just real quick, and then we'll finish up here, is there's something called VA loans. You guys heard of the VA loan? Okay. The VA loan, by far, bar none, is the most investor-friendly loan available in the United States of America and has been the entire time I've been an investor. Here's why. The VA loan, Title 38, United States Code 1814, 1718, the unabridged, so Title 38 USC 1814, clearly states that the transfer of equitable title should not be considered a disposition. What does this mean in layman's terms? In layman's terms, I can't buy your house, Joel, on a land trust and not be in violation of the due on sale clause with a VA. I can't lease option your house and not be in violation. I can't do a purchase contract and not be in violation, but I can do a land contract. See, the military, I'm not sure where anybody had the intelligence to figure this out, but they figured out that their non-coms needed it out to their houses. See, because here's the problem that happens in the military a lot. Non-commissioned, E5s, E6s, E7s, they get stationed at a base. We're in Fayetteville, North Carolina. A lot of them are there. It's a training base. Most guys are there for 2 years and 2 years only, and then they get shipped somewhere else after 2 years of training. They're there for 2 years. They're there for 2 years. Their wife's got the itch. They're settling down. They make good enough money. They're making $35,000, $45,000, $50,000, and they get a housing allowance, so they decide to buy a what? house. They buy a house in a market that doesn't appreciate a lot. Are there lots and lots of markets in this country that don't have huge appreciation? Yeah. Many of you live in those markets. I invest in those markets because I don't invest in high appreciation markets. I invest in normal appreciation markets. So they bought the house for $80,000 and they lived there for 2 years. 2 years later, what's the house worth? $80,000, $85,000. After you add 6% commissions, 2% closing costs, how much money did they got? $75,000, $76,000. What do they owe? $80,000. You think they're going to come out of pocket $3,000 or $4,000 to sell their own home? Nope. They don't have the money. So, on a VA loan, according to Title 38, USC 1814, I can buy Joel's house on a land contract. We can run down to the courthouse. We can record it, dump up and down, call the lender and go, "Nyeh, nyeh, 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 nyeh," and there's nothing they can do. Have I had lenders try and call them? Yeah, but they can't. So we can take control. So, those of you that do short sales, everybody's trying to either beat you're doing short sales if you're just doing, buying pre-foreclosures or foreclosures at the steps for discounts. Everybody out there is trying to beat up the what? The price. They're either beating up the lender or they're beating up the seller, depending on whether they're doing short sale with the lender or they're doing the more conventional pre-foreclosure, beating up the seller. But everybody's trying to beat everybody up for the what? Price. See, because the quick cash game is harder than the cash flow. In the quick cash game, you got to be good. You can't pay more than 70, 75 cents in the dollar. Because if you do, you're going to get burned on some deals. Correct? Correct? I know some of you are newer and you're already thinking, no matter how much they've taught you here, this is maybe your first big event with them, you're already thinking, well, I'll go home and, yeah, I can buy it for 85, 90 cents in the dollar. It'll work. It won't work. The numbers aren't there. You're taking far too much risk for the return that you may get, and you'll get burned. Those of you who've been around, am I telling the truth? Yeah, you get burned. And how does he say yes, sir? Because he probably got burned on a couple, or at least one. My worst deal, we made $460. I didn't lose, and it was tough. I was really determined not to come out with a loss, and it was a tough battle because I didn't follow a lot of rules because I didn't know them. So the VA loans, I can take control of them. So here's what you probably run into. I actually go after these on purpose. See, we do marketing that says we buy houses with FHA and VA loans. Why FHA and VA loans? I know in most places in the country they don't have any equity. So they don't have any options. I'm the only game. And I know everybody else is trying to beat up them or their lender, correct? So what I do is, it's a $100,000 house, and yeah, it's got a $90,000 loan or a $100,000 loan, but what it comes with the $600 a month payment. And I can make $950 to $1,000 a month on that house in my sleep. Do I care what the price is? No. We buy several homes every month that are VAs and FHAs, subject to or on what's called the mirror wrap with the VAs, where we're putting less than a couple $1,000s. The military guys are great, because a lot of the military guys, they're totally current. In Fayetteville, we actually now are working on becoming the relocation specialist. We're an informal specialist. We're working on getting a stamp of approval from the government, which is a lengthy process we may or may not get. But we're the informal guys, and every time they do their big deployments with guys getting shipped out, we get phone calls with people going, and we should be getting them soon, because orders usually get cut around this time of year for people to move out by the beginning of March, mid-April, whatever it is. And we get calls from these guys. Hey, you're the guys who buy the houses, right? Yep. Okay, well, I got one, and I'm leaving February 28th. What do we need to do? Well, do some paperwork. And in the very beginning, the guy who was doing the acquisitions for me, he would offer these people money to move. And one of them said, like, well, why would I need any money from you? The Army pays for my move. So we don't argue with them. And so many of them are now turning the houses over to us. Loan's current. Everything's cool. Just, we got an $80,000 loan with payments of $490 or $500 a month, and we can't make the payments, and we're going to go to Kansas. The other thing is, it only takes up a part of their entitlement, because depending on their area, they got 250 to like Hawaii, 515,000, whatever it is entitlement, right? Well, he's never going to buy a $250,000 house. He's going to go to Kansas and he's going to buy another $80,000 house. Well, in Kansas, he's allowed about $250,000 entitlement. $80,000 of it tore up in North Carolina, so we still got $170,000, so it didn't cost him anything. He just goes to the next place and gets another house. And we go on our merry way. So, what I found in the street When I was competing against everybody else who was out there beating everybody up on price, is that a lot of deals I would lose to my competitors. And you guys losing deals to competitors? Or just losing deals and you're not sure why, but you're losing the deal. And you got deals that you're sure make sense that get rejected? Hello? See, because a drawback to the short sale, and I love short sales. I did my first one in 1991. We didn't even call them short sales. You want me to call them back then? A bank gives a discount. It's real technical. Is what we found is that with a lot of these situations, we're going in and it's like, it's on the little foreclosure list, right? But it's like, well, $100,000 house, they owe 90. Who'd want to buy this? So we're in there and we're the only guy or gal talking to them. See, because nobody else understands how the money works. Everybody else thinks the money is making 10 or 20 or 30 or 40,000 or 50,000 or 60,000 discount on the property. They don't get that the long-term wealth is owning the properties where we can get them for a much lower monthly payment than what we can move them out for. Does that make sense? And so what we've found with a little bit of work and a little bit of training, that in most markets you can go in and pick up as many of these as you want a month without it affecting what you're going to do on your quick cash stuff, but giving you the long-term monthly income stream, which will give you the true wealth. Does that make sense? Do you understand now why they want me to come here and spend a little bit of time with you? Thank you very much. Thank you.